Yes, Steve is right. I had forgotten about the Dale R. Larson Award. That was in the early years before there was a check associated with it. So I would like a check. No, he kindly gave me a York College watch, which I put on. Will make my son-in-law proud. He gets so upset that I wear a watch because he says, "You have a phone." But I can't dig in my pocket to see how much longer I have to live, to speak. So I'll look at my New York College watch. Thank you, President Ekman and the faculty, for your kind invitation to return home to York and to York College to speak to the graduates. I have known President Ekman and Marie, as he told you, for many, many years, since my first days on the campus at York College. President Ekman did lead our amazingly good group, the East Hill Minstrels. They were so good they no longer exist. Our bell-bottom pants and purple shirts, I'm sure, set fashion standards for years on this campus. And it does seem odd calling him President Ekman at first, but then I thought about it, and that's what he had us call him back then. So that he and Marie are a joy to be around, and I am indeed honored to be here this morning. York is home for my wife, Sharon, and me. Sharon arrived on the campus never having seen this campus. She was a native Californian. Now, we live in Missouri now, and those of you from Missouri know there's a California, Missouri. She says she's from the real California. And I always remind her, you shouldn't say that to Missourians, because they think that's the real California. But she moved here in 1970 from Sacramento, California. What drew her to York College, I would like to think, and she would like to think, well, it was the outstanding academic programs. It was the faculty. Indeed, it was because they had a snow picture on the front of the catalog, and she wanted to see snow fall. She lived here for 21 years. She saw plenty of snow falling. I came from Bellevue, Nebraska, just down the road. I'd been here many times for high school days and those types of events. I joined Keynote. She joined Beta Beta Sigma. She became the Sigma Tau sweetheart our sophomore year when Dr. Frank Wheeler was president of that group. But Frank, I got her as my permanent sweetheart. And so she's been with me for all these years. Over the years, we've had our share of joys and our struggles, our ups and our downs, but we continue to grow, we continue to flourish, and I credit York College with much of that. Our children were born here. Both children were born at York General. Our son completed all but his senior year of high school in York. And so York has shaped us in so many ways. I look out and I see so many familiar faces. Former students, friends. I see at least one roommate back there. Just so many people that have impacted our lives. I know of at least one former student, and after you stood, I saw several of you that I've taught that are now parents of graduates or that are mother-in-laws of graduates. Not only does that make me feel extremely, remarkably old, but very proud. I'm just thankful I have not taught any grandchildren of former students. But if that's happened, don't correct me afterwards, please. I now see so many former students serving at York College. In fact, I'm a little nervous because they're sitting behind me. And as a teacher, I never let my students see my back. But here they are. And Bobby Dehart and Chris Luther, who would have thought? Oh my gosh. Miracles happen. So the journey continues. Your journey has brought you thus far to a place, to this time, but it won't end here. It's just beginning for you. You have so many to thank in this audience. You have so many to thank that aren't here. You have so many to thank that have gone before you at York College, and I hope you will do that. But this is one of those rare days in life where it really is all about you. It really is. And so I want to focus on that today. I, like many of you, am on Facebook. Facebook has allowed me to keep up with former students and colleagues that I would never have been able to do in the past. In fact, our 40th college reunion, which was last fall, started on Facebook. We found each other on Facebook. One night someone said, let's do instant something on Facebook. And so one Thursday night at 9 o'clock, we had to choose a time that was good for everyone. We got online, and there were 80-something of us talking to each other at once. That night, we planned our 40th reunion here at York College. But because they found out that I am speaking today, several of your graduate friends or your alumni friends made suggestions of things that I should tell you as good advice. Here's just a few. Spike Odell, who went to school with us, former classmate. He's now a retired talk show host from WGN Radio in Chicago. Another one of us who would have thought. He said, tell them to make the employer need you more than you need them. That's pretty good advice. Dale Neal, an alum, former YC basketball coach. He wrote this: as you go through life, always remember, no matter where you go, there you are. And then one piece of advice for me. Dr. Ray Miller, a person I knew when he had hair, gave advice directed at me that said, remember, the mind cannot retain more than the seat can endure. So in that spirit, let me rush through my 5 points for you today. So what does one say to graduates, brilliant graduates, who really won't remember anything about me 30 minutes from now? I recognize that I've embraced it, I can live with it. I must admit, it's one of those dilemmas that many are facing this month. This audience is so diverse. Some of you are going to be going to graduate school. Some of you will move directly into employment. Some of you will move into your parents' basement. But whatever you're doing, whatever your plans, today is the beginning of a whole new chapter of your life. So let me share 5 brief items with you. 1, learn to laugh more. A recent Gallup poll indicated that 40% of Americans live under extreme stress. Well, we've all had stress, but a person who learns to laugh, especially at him or herself, will be much happier. Do not waste time thinking about what could have been. Rather, think about what could be. Turn off all your electronic devices for a moment and enjoy life that is living around you. I can tell you that when my classmates from 40 years ago gathered, we didn't do a lot of bad-mouthing or griping. We laughed. 90% of the time, we laughed. And the stories, you know what? We were telling stories that happened to us when we were here, and I know they were all better because we were making up all kinds of new details. That's part of life. Enjoy it. Those are the treasured moments that will get you through the tough times. Second, be open to truth and to new ideas. You know, some minds are like concrete. They're thoroughly mixed up and permanently set, as far as I'm concerned. Change is not a threat. New ideas have nothing to fear from questioning and discussion. One purpose of higher education is to challenge you to think. Do not get caught up in believing everything you see or everything you hear or everything you read on Facebook. Facebook and internet are wonderful inventions, but they've spread so much untruth and unsubstantiated comments that it's ridiculous. Think for yourself. Learning how to engage in civil discussion. By the way, I wouldn't look to Washington for that role model. I don't care which party you affiliate with. You all need to learn something about civil discussion and civil disagreement. That's the end of my political statement. My hope is that your generation can bring us back to a rational discussion of ideas. Ideas are not threatening. Truth has nothing to fear. You have been taught to think at York. York hasn't changed from when I was a student here. Back in my days, I remember many faculty who refused to let me stay where I was, comfortable in my thoughts about life. People like Elmer Baker, Tom Schultz, Mabry Miller, Robert Lawrence is here with us today, President Dale Larson, Roger Hawley, Gail Napier, the list goes on and on and on. These men, Dolores Campbell. Dolores did so much to teach me, although she wasn't a faculty member. She was a mentor to me when I was a student here. They refused to let me rest in what I already thought I knew. There's a whole world out there that you can explore. A whole set of truth that's exciting. Take it. The journey's worth it. Third, your education is by no means over. Mark Twain once said, "I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. Learning is ongoing." One of the goals for YC is to equip you to become lifelong learners. One former student recently sent me, just last week, a note on Facebook, and this is what he said. He said, "I just want you to know, I have all the books that you require in literature class, and I have read all of them." 40 years later, but he read them. Learning never stops. Walt Whitman indicated the greatest excitement and love for a teacher is to see his or her students surpass him or her. That's what you need to do. You need to look up on this stage and see the people that taught you and say, "I'm even going to do better. I'm going to succeed." And these are remarkable people. It's a great goal. And one thing you will learn as you do this, life is not fair, is it? Life is not ever going to be fair. If life were fair, Justin Bieber would not be famous. Fourth, be quick to take responsibility when you make a mistake. Another one of my favorite Mark Twain quotes, it goes as follows. "Always acknowledge a fault. This will throw those in authority off their guard and give you an opportunity to commit more." Now, certainly I'm not suggesting that you go out and live a life of faults. But there is something to be said for being honest about our faults. We all know people who cannot admit to any weakness or any fault. Please do not point to anyone in the room. But if we were honest with one another and ourselves, we know we can all fall into that trap very easily. People fail. Sometimes they fail big time. But we pick ourselves up because the mark of a great person is that he recognizes his limitations, he embraces grace, and he moves forward. I need a lot of grace. And my guess is you do too. That ends the sermon portion of this comment. As one friend recently wrote to me, "Many folks want to serve God, but only as advisors." Well, I've got news for you. He doesn't need your advice. Fifth and last, everyone that knows me expects me to mention Willa Cather. Everyone knows who Willa Cather is, right? If not, we'll withhold your diploma today, so I want to let you know that. This great Nebraska writer, very famous across the world, I think has some great thoughts for you today. In O Pioneers, Cather makes a statement through one of her characters, Carl, that resonates with an old text in Ecclesiastes. Carl, speaking to Alexander, says, "And now the old story has begun to write itself over there. Isn't it clear? There are only 2 or 3 human stories, and they go on repeating themselves as fiercely as if they had never happened before. Like the larks in this country that have been singing the same 5 notes for thousands of years. There really is nothing new under the sun. This is why we read ancient texts. This is why we read Greek plays and Shakespeare and Milton and Twain. This is why we read Scripture, because the story repeats itself over and over and over again. Scripture speaks to all people of all times, and it's filled with wisdom for our lives. So as you leave this wonderful place that you have called home for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, recognize this. You do not have to create a new human story. You may now become a part of a larger YC community, Yorkies, that have traveled a little farther down that road than you have. Find mentors to help you so that wherever you are, they can help you with your story. You have often heard it said that you can never come home again. Well, I am here to tell you today that is not true. You can always come home. I am here because it represents not a place, it represents people. People that have loved you and support you and continue to believe in you even when you mess up. This is home, and it will remain home for the rest of your life. God bless each of you as you go out and celebrate this great event, and as you go out to lead a life that I know is going to be exciting, and you will serve God and your communities in remarkable ways. Thank you, and God bless.